What is going on, family? How is everybody doing? I hope you all are having a wonderful middle of the week. Wonderful middle of the week to you. I hope you are having a wonderful hump day. Listen, we're not gonna be in here long today. We ain't got that. I ain't got that kind of time today. So we're not gonna be in here long today at all. But it's something that I really have to point out. Because I become, if you all haven't noticed, I've become slightly obsessed with the ways in which we get our politics wrong. And those of you who have not, please take the time to see my pinned message about donating to North Carolina Representative Carla Cunningham. If you have not done that yet, you can see all of my stuff on my previous show about why that's important, why I had the plaid pink shirt on. That one. The one that's got the shorts on right now, you can see why that is important. Now, the other thing I want to say right now, hit the like and subscribe if you have not done that. Not that it's going to necessarily do what it's supposed to do, but we got to do our part anyway. That's just, we have to always do your part, and then we'll work on the other part that's not fair. You got to always do your part. Now, listen, fam. I ran across in my travels. When I say my travels, I mean my online travels. I ran across nice little poll. I like a nice little poll. I like a nice little poll that talks to me about some things. And I ran across a poll since everybody and their mama since all we're talking about now, and it seems like the only thing that matters to us right now is immigration in terms of the media. I went through like 5 podcasts yesterday and like 8 of them today, and all they're talking about is ICE, about ICE, and it's like there's nothing. Like, Trump is doing a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of stuff we should talk about. There was one podcast that was still talking about Greenland, and there was one podcast that was talking about small houses, teeny homes making you happier. That was interesting. But I can't recall. Oh, that was another one about climate change. That's it. Everything else was it was just ICE all the time. And so I wanted to point out a poll that I really found interesting about people being split on this. And I want to talk a little bit about us. And I want to use somebody, in terms of teaching tools, I want to use somebody from the mainstream to talk about how we tend to get things right and wrong, how the lens through which we view politics needs to shift, right? But let me just go through this first. And just think about what you think. So this was, I think it was New York Times poll. Voters are split on deportations, but disapprove of ICE poll fines, right? Seems simple enough to you, don't it? Seems okay. Simple enough. Let me bring this down so I can see this, so I can see the comments a little bit. Seems simple enough, fam, right? Okay. The interesting thing goes when you start talking to the people who were interviewed. So I see this one part, and they're talking. And Latino voters were more likely than black or white voters to identify immigration as the most important problem facing the country. Wait a minute. Now, I know we got white Latinos and we got a smidgen of non-white, but we got people, a lot of y'all just identify however y'all want to identify, but I would think that some of y'all got La Familia getting caught up in this. But when I look at it, what it's telling me is something very interesting to me. It might not be interesting to you. All my settings done reset. But it's interesting to me, right? Well, why I don't understand, Yvette, what's so interesting? Well, what is so interesting to me is how, wait a minute, y'all, Latinos view, let me read that again. I must have read something wrong. Latino voters were more likely than black voters, what? Or white voters to identify immigration as the most important problem facing the nation. So even with everything that's going on, even with everything that has happened, they still have not sort of pulled back. Now, fam, this is interesting to me. I want you to know that this is very interesting to me. Some things are just very interesting to me with everything that's going on, and y'all telling us what we got to do. Why you ain't talking to them? Now, here's the second part of what I want to bring up. Oh, this stupid thing. Here's the second part of what I want to bring up. You see this? Let's keep reading out here. But more Latinos said that they saw the economy as more important, right? So Latino voters were almost evenly divided on Mr. Trump's handling of the border between the United States and Mexico, but they overwhelmingly disapprove of ICE tactics. See, that's the thing that I've kept trying to say here, is that you can disagree, and maybe the Latinos have it right. You can disagree with the tactics and believe that everyone should be humanely and advocate for that, while also saying, hey, countries have to have borders. Right? And maybe the Latinos who are here from other countries or whose parents or grandparents were, maybe they understand that a little bit better than you do. Because some of y'all, not my people, but some of y'all have gotten ahead of this whole thing and ain't did no reading of history. We ain't talking about our history, Latino history, anybody history, none. But you study out here. No, you got to tell you what is supposed to happen. You don't understand. No, it's just morally. Listen, people should have dignity. Dragging people out of stuff, I get that. But slow your roll. And it's something else I want to see you. So Rogelio Salinas, a 59-year-old corrections officer, ain't that an interesting job, in Lake Jackson, Texas, said that while he believed the country needs strong immigration law to ensure that migrants do it the right way, he has also balked at the administration's approach. There's a way to go about it, he said. What they're doing is just way too much and it doesn't need to be done. Mr. Salinas, who did not vote in 2024 election and is not registered with either party, said that he was particularly frustrated by videos and reports of immigration officers questioning people's citizenship for no clear reason. Now, hold on a second, Mr. Salinas. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all about how we hate each other and how we have a lot of self-hate. If this had been a Negro, if Mr. Salinas had been Mr. Leroy Jackson, y'all would have pulled up all his stuff by now. Y'all would have found his mama. By now, y'all will have his mama and his baby child and be, how he talking? He don't vote. He over there talking to the New York Times and they ain't voted for nobody in 2024 and ain't registered with either party and steady talking. You would not do that, and it's a perfect example of how you will not hold that community account, not for their history, not for their racism, not even for how their people vote and how their people view ICE right now. The only thing you tell yourself is that me and my people got to get in the street, or we should be doing more. Oh, okay, y'all, it's time now to tap in. It's done had enough. It's coming here next. It was here first. I told y'all that months ago. Don't tell me something's coming to get me tomorrow when I've been fighting this thing for generations. I don't want to hear none of what you're talking about if that's what you have to tell me. The question that everybody should be interrogating right now is when the police have been whooping our butt, when the police have been telling us and people just say you just should have complied. When Philando Castile was killed by the police and he's told him I have a weapon, it's legal, blah, 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 and he shot him dead. I didn't hear nothing from all these people who are talking about, oh my God, you have to be able to have a gun. We don't have a Second Amendment if you can't carry a gun. No, Sherlock. There's a lot. Listen, in everything, ladies and gentlemen, there is an order of operations. The Latino community needs to get the Latino community together because y'all voted way more with Trump than we did. Right now, you still on the side of enforcement way more than Negroes are. Hey, there's an order of operation. Don't talk to me about where I need to be and where I need to go. And I don't even care if you ADOS. I don't care what you say either. Who made you an authority on who need to be on the street, when and where? Hey, I thought all the women said they was going to sit it out. I saw a whole meme go with a bunch of negresses sitting on top of a building saying this is not our problem because we voted for Kamala. Well, if you said it's not your problem, you said you're going to sit down, have several seats, ma'am. But this ain't even my topic for today. See up what y'all made me do. This ain't even my topic. I'm bringing this up to bring something else up, and y'all done got me to hollering already. So this is the poll, and this is the cost of living. Now that second little line down, that second little do you see that you see that black, and you go down to the second little darkened, little grayed out portion, 75%. The cost of living, registered voters, when you say strongly disapprove that Trump is improving the cost of living, 75% of Negroes, and I'm with that. You're right. Everything high. Everything too high. You doggone right. Here's where I start to just kind of wonder what's happening, though. So we're going to go down to the strongly disapprove again. And I want you to go over to the black. And it says immigration, strongly disapprove black, 71%. Right? Let me move this a little bit over. Strongly disapprove Hispanic, 55%. So you are disapproving. See, listen, the Hispanics, Latinos, whatever you want to call yourselves, y'all got some work to do. Whites are 42%. And I don't even know who is who because we got white Latinos. I don't even know what's going on. So, but how come we are always the first one to be upset? You know, I did a show on Patreon this last time, and I talked about weathering and how chronic stress destroys the insides of your body. Hey, listen. You got enough chronic stress in your life that you've had to deal with. You got enough inherited chronic stress in your life. You got enough chronic stress from your mama. You got enough chronic stress from your daddy. You got enough from grandmama, granddaddy, people around you who need $50 to get to work. Don't you be borrowing no chronic stress from nobody. Don't you do that. They have got to get themselves in line. Why only 55% of y'all strongly disapprove of immigration right now? And you got 71% of Negroes? One more, and then we can move on to something else. But let me just put one more example out here for you, just real quick. Like I said, we're not gonna be here long today. We're not gonna do it. It ain't right. So we go down a little bit more specific. Do you approve or disapprove of how immigration and customs enforcement, commonly referred to as ICE, baby, is handling its job? Again, if you go to that second little grade in strongly disapprove, 48% strongly disapprove white. Strongly disapprove Hispanic is 64%. Strongly disapprove black is 82%. Why are you so much higher than the whites and Latinos? Like, are we still the conscience of everybody? Because it looks just to me like the Hispanics and Latinos, they got some work to do with each other. Like, get your people lined up. That's just what it feels like. It feels like you got to get your folk lined up. Feels like your folk ain't together. And it feels like I can't be together if your folk ain't together. It feels like your folk got to get together before I got to do anything. That's what it kind of feel like to me. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm going to tell you what I feel. I ain't going to shy away from nothing now. That's what I feel like. I feel like there's an order of operation to all things. I don't understand. I really don't understand what the problem is. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or nothing. I'm not trying to, but I'm just wondering why we so far ahead of everybody, and this ain't even us. Why are we so far ahead? And see if you start, and I wonder if it's because we've read way much more about this stuff, and we've internalized much more media about than anybody else. We the first one to turn on the TV, and oh my God. And it's just like, well, we never consider how we weigh things. And that brings me to my second point. So when you think about stuff like that, I just don't want to just call stuff out. I want to kind of try to figure out why a thing is a thing, right? So when I'm thinking about why is something this way, right? Why do we have this kind of, why are we more enraged than even the people who are most impacted, it seems like? Why is that? And I think there's something wrong with the entire way that the lens through which we interpret politics. I think there's something wrong with it. And if you ask me, what could be wrong with it? I want to use something that I view as very interesting to explain that, right? So how many of y'all are familiar with Ray Daniels? I think that's his name. Used to be in the music industry. I think he has a podcast now, right? How many of y'all are familiar with this person? And I'm not about to say nothing mean. Everybody always want to put something mean on me. I'm not trying to say nothing mean. But how many of y'all are familiar? So the reason I bring him up is because I saw 2 clips of him. And I said, I have to bring this up because the 2 clips were in stark juxtaposition to each other. Now, I'm going to try to bring my face a little bit further down so you can see the name of this podcast and go see it yourself. He said something about music that was complex. And I didn't clip the entire thing because I don't want to have to deal with nobody. I don't want to have to deal with nobody. Clip or no, this is fair use, but people get crazy. So he was on somebody else's podcast. I want to play this clip where he talks about music. Now he's talking about Lizzo, and this is just a 1-minute clip. Watch the whole thing. He has a very complex process for how he has conversations with musicians about what they want to do and how he views himself. This is what triggered me, because I always talk about looking in the mirror, and he says he views himself as a mirror for the musician and what they want to do and how they want to be perceived. And I want to play that, and I'm going to come back to you and tell you the issue that I have. So I'm going to play this for you. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to play you another clip. Now, I want you to pay particular attention to what he's saying in this clip, and I want you to then contrast that to another clip that I'm going to play, and I'm going to introduce it first. I'm not going to play them back to back, but I just want you to listen to what he's saying about Lizzo.
Yeah. So I look at the Truth Hurts videos. I'll never forget. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the video right here, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, she's a fucking superstar. Mm. Oh my God. Because she was showing her body and she was a bigger girl.
Yeah.
And what I know as a consumer is that more women are shaped like Lizzo than they are like Beyonce, right? Beyonce is who you strive to be. Lizzo's who you relate to, right? Mm-hmm. It's the cheat code. So I'm like, wow, like, okay. So I'm looking at the video. So I pause the video. I'm like, what's the problem? Because now I'm excited. I'm like, what's the problem? You are a star. And she's like, I don't know, Atlantic just got me waiting, and they keep telling me Mike McGain is gonna blow my records up, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, boom, stop. I figured it out. Why does Mike McGain know about you and not Majima?
And for context, who's Mike McGain?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you that in the context. So I'm like, why does Mike McGain know you instead of Majima? And she goes, who's Majima? And I'm like, Majima is head of R&B.
Yes.
Mike McGain is head of pop.
All at Spotify at the time.
All at Spotify. These are, at the time, these are the people at this stage, these are the people that everybody in the world is trying to get to, right?
Yes, yes.
Mike, Najima, Tuma, if they said it, it was
people,
golden.
100%.
And they didn't even care.
This is before TikTok, too,
I was about to
right?
say, they didn't even care about the power. It was just like, nah, I just have influence. I'm going to tell them that.
Yeah.
So she says Mike McGain. So I go to her, I think I know what the problem is. And I'm like, why does Majima not know you? And she's like, who's Majima? I said, Majima's a girl who would love you, who looks like you, who would adore you. And she was like, Bray, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a pop artist. No, you're not. That's the problem. That was the problem. You say you're a pop artist, you can't get mad when only gay white men are showing up to your store. Right. You are a black artist first.
Yeah.
Black people need to know you there.
Yeah.
And she was like, no. So she was
Now pay close attention to that. He helped Lizzo understand that she was not a pop artist, right? That she was a black artist, right? Now, I want you to hear something. I want you to dissect this conversation. He understood who in the music industry, he has this analysis because he understands who the players are. He knows names. He understands where they're positioned. He understands where they can have an impact. He understands marketing and how you're marketing in the music industry. He understands who you're supposed to market to. He understands why that marketing worked. Look at you, Lizzo, and look at Beyonce. Okay, you have two very different. Okay, he talks, and if you go and watch the whole thing, he talks about how do you reverse engineer this, right? You have to know where a person comes from. You have to know who you're talking to. You have to know how to see yourself in order to know how to market yourself. He goes through the whole thing. It's complex. I liked it. I don't know much about the music industry. I've never been there, but I was like, I like that. That's a complex analysis. The problem is that people don't heed, and him included, I'm going to play you the clip that I was talking about in a second, don't have that analysis as it relates to politics. So you won't know who any of the players are. You won't be looking at this from a very macro to micro kind of thing. You'll just be looking at it in terms of who you are and who you know and how you feel. You didn't interpret Lizzo based on how she felt. Actually, she felt she was a pop star, and you turned that around to no, you're not. You're a black star. You had a different interpretation. You had a complex interpretation. The problem with us in terms of politics is we never have a complex interpretation. I'm talking about as a group. We have a simpleton interpretation interpretation of politics that is based on who we know, who we like, what we feel we would do, what we feel an individual is allowed to do, and that's not the same way you interpret music or sports. I see some of y'all talking about sports. Oh my God, you can interpret it and who, and you can go back years. Bring that interpretation to politics. Now, you're going to need the same kind of knowledge that you have in music, which means you're going to have to really pay attention to politics. If you want to have a nuanced interpretation, I see some of y'all have very nuanced interpretations and things that don't impact your life. That impacts his life because he works in music. But if you're thinking about and you care about your people, that's big. You have to have an interpretation that is broad. It has to be collective. It has to be about what ends in collective uplift for my people. See, it's about the individual if you're working with a specific star. He was talking about Lizzo. If you're talking about her, you have to figure her out, and then you have to match her with a market that fits with her. That makes perfect sense. But when you're talking about politics, it's the opposite. You're talking about how to uplift a group of people. You're talking about a specific demographic. You're not talking about an individual anymore. And you got to care, and you got to have a knowledge base. Those two things have to go together. It has to match up. So I want to bring you one other quick clip from, and this is again, Ray Daniels. I want you to pay close attention to the difference. This is a quick clip. I think it's his Instagram or something about how he's talking about his support for Stephen A. Smith, right? And why he supports him. And I want you to, in your own mind, I want you to really pay attention to how he just had this complex analysis of music and how he has this dullard, slurred kind of interpretation of politics. And I want to come back to it and just explain why we have to change that. But I'm going to play this really quick for you.
In the black community, and everybody's attacking him, but I promise y'all, that man has done more for the black community. I watched him. He's done more, and if not more, the exact amount as every person criticizing him. He's the only person I've seen on black men on TV saying the black athletes have to hold themselves to a higher amount of accountability. Put down the weed. Like he's been famous saying, put down the weed. But it's like, there's something about our society when one person black doesn't agree that person is now a sellout. That person is now standing on the shoulders of white men to do white supremacy. It's like, bro, we all live in the same fucking world. Yep. We all got to make money with the same fucking people. You people that are activists, that's y'all light. That's y'all.
Let me tell you something. Put down the weed is not a political analysis. That's not something you are saying that Stephen A. Smith's. You see how that's just different? You see how one was complex and one was just confused and kind of cobbled together and it was a mess? And you see how somebody who was able to make that complex analysis should have been able to bring that complex analysis back over here to politics but could not make the transition? And there's nobody around to say, hey, you missed the transition. You're complex here, but not over here, and we have to work on that. There's nobody to say that. And that's the reason nobody want to talk to Yvette, because Yvette tries to hold people accountable. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about somebody who is unwilling to do that. But see, it's not a political analysis to say Stephen A. Smith has done more than the black people who are criticizing him, right? That's not a political critique. I don't know what you're talking about. Even if he has done more behind the scenes to help Negroes who are upwardly mobile and trying to get jobs, that is something done behind the scenes to help individuals who are his peers. That's why I say the cost of party and peer loyalty, because there is a dedication to party that we have to deal with, but there's also a dedication, and that might be a part of those immigration numbers, but there's also a dedication to peer loyalty. So he's done a lot for black people. That's not how we judge politics. If you don't hear anything, hear this. Politics, in terms of how we analyze it, is based on specific demographics, right? So it's about how his words and his analysis is shaping us. How does it impact the collective? If you're saying that, hey, Trump's policies right now in terms of ADOS are okay, or quote unquote black, if those are okay, if you're saying, hey, over here, and what about the Democrats, instead of just saying, hey, this is what this group of people need, and what are we going to do to get it? then you are a problem to politics. And really, you're gaming the system because everybody has decided that there's a piece of the pie for political people. Even when he gets to the end and starts talking about activists, right? And he starts saying that, hey, that's how y'all make y'all money too, by talking about this stuff or whatever. He specifically calls out like Roland Martin. And it's like, that's what you're talking about, how political analysts make their money is what Stephen A. Smith wants to do now. That's the lane he wants to come into now. And then there are others of us who would love to be put out of a job, right? I would love to get everything set up and you can fire me immediately. I'll find something else to do. I got something else I could do. Like, I love politics, or will probably still be in the world of politics, but you don't want to have to advocate because you're advocating in the same way for the same stuff 30 years in. And that's my problem with sometimes the people who are Clyburn. He's 85. You have to reanalyze these things. Then maybe you're not winning. Maybe. But the analysis just did not carry over. It's not a political critique. It didn't carry over. That one of them, and if you go watch the whole video over there, it's a great little, because it goes all the way back. If I could have, I would have played it all, but I couldn't. Right? But it's not, you can't tell me that, hey, Stephen A. has done more than each individual person. The minute you say individual to me, I know you've lost the plot. Because what he's done to individuals doesn't speak to his political impact. And it also doesn't speak to his knowledge base. I can listen to Stephen A. Smith and know that he doesn't understand politics. I don't even think he knows how many people in Congress. I don't think he knows who has what role. I don't think so. And you have to have a specific kind of knowledge base. And the funniest thing is, and I've said this before, people, if I decided tomorrow that I wanted to get up and talk about, I'm going to talk about sports. I'm going to talk about basketball, football, a little bit of baseball, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't, everybody will call me out. Everybody would say, Yvette, what are you doing? Why do you have a kickball show? Why are you now talking about basketball and you getting all this stuff wrong about going to the rim? Why are you talking about it? Everybody would call me out. And rightfully so. Unless because I don't know what, I know I used to watch football years and years ago. So I know about the wide receiver, quarterback, stuff like that. But I don't think I know enough to where I would be able to really, really have in-depth conversations about it. And people would call me out. And the funniest thing to me is, why can't I call him out? Like, what happens to where everybody can call me out if I start tomorrow? I want to talk about basketball. My new show is Basketball Show. And if y'all don't like it, you can kick rocks. My new show is basketball. My new show is football. Third and long. Everybody would say, Yvette, no, this isn't for you. But he can maneuver into that lane and it becomes, hey, who are you to call him a sellout for having a different opinion? It's not just a different opinion. It's an unorganized opinion. It's an ignorant opinion. I couldn't go into music and tell you, no, what you should have did about Lizzo was tell her that she needed to go and do a jazz thing and learn how to play the trumpet. If I told you that, you would say, Yvette, you don't know nothing about the music business. And I really don't. But politics seems to be like this catch-all where you can just say anything. You should not be allowed to just say anything and be successful. And politics is too serious. Y'all might have fun with watching me have a pickleball channel. Like, that doesn't impact anybody's life. It might be fun just watching me be wrong. Look at Yvette talking about that. Ain't even how pickleball work. Yvette, and we might have a blast. We might eat popcorn. Now, you still would know not to take me seriously, but that doesn't mean we couldn't have fun together. But politics is too serious an arena for you to enter into it and impact lives and influence people, because you have influence on people because you were already in sports. So you're taking part of that audience over to politics. It's too serious and it has too much of an impact. And here's the other thing, Ray Daniels, it does not matter to me or nobody else how much impact he had over the other individual. Because politics is never going to be about individual outcomes, and you will never have the kind of impact. One Stephen A. Smith will never have the kind of impact that the government has over our community. So it doesn't matter. His individual things that he does behind the scenes are of little consequence. We're talking about a government with trillions of dollars. That is the kind of impact and pouring into our communities that we're talking about. And when he starts talking about this, both sides is wrong and all that stuff, you're harming us because you don't know what you're talking about. And you've grown accustomed to kind of bloviating in one space, and that might be fun because you might know enough to get by. But you can't bloviate, or you shouldn't bloviate in this space. You shouldn't make that quick transition. And it's disrespectful to the art of politics and the job of politics and the economics of politics to make that pivot without doing the research. And every time I see you, I know you don't do the research. See, everybody else might look at you and think, no, he said, no, I can tell, I can see the knowledge hole. Like when you know a thing, you can look at it and see the holes. You don't know. I can tell when you're covering up. I can tell when you're covering up ignorance. And I see it. Listen, I'm talking about this person because he's not ADOS, but he's a Negro. Negroes be influencing Negroes. You've been on sports channels, Negroes be following you. It's a problem if you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to put down the weed. I mean, okay, I'm all with that. But how are you judging that? Like, what are the scales that we're using to judge that? See, this is the thing, and that's the thing that really gets me. That's the thing that really, really bothers me when people get into this space. And he goes, at the end of it, Ray Daniel says, when one person disagrees, it's always about, that person's a sellout. And it isn't about one person. Like, we got to stop saying stuff like that. Because if you have influence, you're more than one person. You have to be responsible with that influence. You have to be. You owe that to the people who watch you. It's people who don't have jobs. It's people who are unemployed, especially, it's ESPN. I'm guessing it's more men than women who watch the show. It's people who are going through stuff. Nobody needs you to just change lanes. We've had a lot of changing lanes as of late. People who want to get into this. I saw him say, Kamala Harris, she's done. She's finished. I saw him say this on CNN. I don't know why he was invited to CNN. You see, like, this level of seriousness doesn't make sense. And she's finished. Well, then I saw Kamala Harris. Y'all know I'm not no fan of Kamala, but I saw her book tour was all kinds of successful. Right? Selling out everywhere. Well, that's a sign of a problem. I mean, that's a sign that you might be wrong. That this is something to be monitored. But when you're just used to when you're used to like not monitoring what's happening in the news and not monitoring what's happening in the data and not monitoring what's happening with the system, then it's easy for you to say, yeah, this is what it is. Because that's kind of how sports is. If you believe a player is not a good player, unless they just go get 30 points one night or whatever, you can say that. You can keep saying that. Now his knees is bad. I'm gonna tell you, I watched him run on them knees all back and forth, and I heard him creak, sound like popping, cracking. I'm thinking it's his knee. You can say that. You can make all kinds of wild prognostications because the job of a Stephen A. in that way is just to get in a fight, right? Just to have the debate. I don't like that for our people, though, to just have the debate. We should be having debate based on what we believe and what we think. And he's just getting it over here to tilt the scales because you're going to make news when you start siding with Trump. As a black person, ADOS or not, you're going to make news when you have a big thing in front of you and you get ratings and you start saying, well, I agree with Trump on this. I don't agree with Kamala on that. I don't agree with Democrats on that, but Democrat, blah, 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 and you do this kind of whataboutism thing. It's not helpful. That's all I can say. It's just not helpful. And everybody has to start bringing whatever expertise they have. That has to come. That has to come in every arena. It can't just be my expertise is just over here. My expertise is in music and I like Stephen A. It don't matter who you like. What's the politics? Do you know what politics you like? Like, honestly, like, do people know what is your political? See, sometimes people enter the political arena without first deciding, what do my politics look like? Right? What do my economic politics look like? How do I feel about, I don't have any problem saying the welfare state because I think it should be big. It's big in all other Western countries. What do I feel about taxes? They might be, you know, sometimes, you know, sometimes these rich Negroes are your class enemies. What do I feel or think about cultural issues? Now, I believe those are far less important than other issues, but what do I think about reparations? What do I think about redress? What do I think about immigration? We just brought that up very briefly. You have to be willing to have that analysis before you give any kind of assessment of Stephen A. Smith. Because if you don't know what you feel about politics, then how you know what you think about what he feel about politics? You don't. You just know you like the man. And he said, Daniel said something else to the effect of, I told black women when Trump got elected, listen, everybody now got to get this money. And if your man is out there getting this money from Trump, you got to let him get the money. And I just want to say, part of how we got to this problem where we don't have any kind of cultural norms anyway is believing that we got to always be out here getting the money. Like getting the money and just getting the bag, that leads to this stuff where you don't know what you believe in because you just been chasing money. And you end up in a pool of baby oil because you ain't been doing nothing nowhere but chasing the money. So you just chasing the money anywhere. You chasing the money to pink cocaine, chasing the money to baby oil, chasing the money, snatching, like chasing the money for the sake of the money and not what you're going to build with the money and not what you want to do to help yourself and other people in your life and what you want to provide some stability. If you're just chasing money, just go get this money, what did y'all think that was going to lead? I'm just asking, because if you're saying, you know, if you got a man, you got to work for Trump, let him get this money. Well, getting this, I'm not talking about belief, right? I'm talking about if you're just chasing money. There's nothing communal. There's nothing community. You know how we always talk about community and collective uplift. There's nothing communal about just chasing money. Because if you're just chasing money, you'll steal somebody else's money. Because you're after the money. Ain't no loyalty in just chasing money. So what do you think happens if you just let people go chase the money? Or if everybody's okay with people just chasing the money for the sake of chasing the money? Bad things happen. That's all I'm saying. Bad things happen. You have to have some kind of values in life. You have to have some type of political values in terms of what kind of state you want to see, what kind of government you want to see, what do you want the government to do? And you should have these thoughts long before you have any thoughts about Stephen A. Smith or what he's doing and whether or not you just like him as a person. He could have opened all kind of doors for you and still be awful politically. You've never known somebody who has been great to you as a person, but their politics are just awful? You ain't never known a really right-wing white conservative who will ask you, do you need to go to the store? You need something. And they get in their vote booth and they will vote every which way and vote in a way that will turn you every which way but loose. So we have to be willing to be critical of people, even if they are helpful to us, even if they are helpful to other people. So that's the thing that I know he's capable of a complex analysis by what I saw him talk about in terms of music. He had a calculator out, for God's sake. When the last time I seen a Negro bring out a calculator in that same interview? So I know he has a capacity, and there are a lot of people in our community who have the capacity to have these thoughts, who have the capacity to make this kind of analysis. But they are married to who they like. And they're married to, I might need this. What he said too, we all got to interact with who we got to interact with to make this money. That doesn't have anything to do with who you are politically. You might have to do business with somebody. That doesn't have anything to do with how you advocate, what organizations you give money to, who you support, who you vote for. It doesn't have anything to do with that. So just because you're in a room with somebody, some of y'all swear y'all can do business with white folk, but you just don't know how. Because they can be in a room with you and know you finna go out here and vote blue no matter who or whatever you finna do, or you finna support ADOS-AF or do whatever, and they don't care. They finna go out and vote MAGA and they gonna hug you and shake your hand. They're not gonna get nowhere and say, well, I gotta do business with these Negroes, so. They don't care. And you got to just start like standing on what you stand on. So people love to say that. I stand on what I stand on. I stand on what I stand on. Yeah, you do that every which way but politically. When it comes to politics, you waffle. Ooh, you wiggle and waffle in a way that I ain't never seen before. So it's just very interesting to me. Politics, so much about politics is just about consequences and group consequences. You know, before I get out of here, because I know I said I wasn't going to take y'all talk too long, but since I'm not gonna bring up what I was gonna bring up. The other part I was gonna bring up. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna save it. But I saw a lot of people talking about a clip, and I think it was, since we're talking about this kind of stuff, about from the pivot. And it was this ball player who said he didn't make much money. And he made like $20 million, and he said taxes 50%. I made $10 million. And the first thing that Antonio and I both said this years ago. If players had any sense, the first thing they would fight is not to be taxed as labor. They will fight to be taxed as a business. But he's making $1 million a year, and he has a bunch of siblings, right? This ball player who was saying he didn't make much money. They asked him, how did you go broke? And he said, I didn't make much money. And a lot of people went around and were really mad about that. I wasn't. Because in many ways, I just want to say this as I get out, I kind of agree with him. Because he had a lot of siblings, and when you have a lot of siblings and you have some money, there's a perception, if you are a professional ball player, which he was, that you are balling out of control. And there's a perception of the kind of car you're supposed to drive, and the kind of house you're supposed to have, and the kind of baddie that's supposed to be on your arm. There are a lot of perceptions that you try to match up to. That's a problem. And you got a lot of siblings, and they're going to have a lot of problems because we don't have wealth. So a lot of times when you start just thinking about yourself, you don't think about the fact that the reason I have to the people who are at the top, the reason you have to take care of people is because they don't have it. The people who are at the top, our people, there's a reason why a lot of them are monsters. Not a lot, but some disproportionate number. There's a reason why, let me just say this, there's a reason why you see the Diddies, right? Who I feel like I can say was a monster. You don't want to know why? Because what happens is that the people who really save money and get money are the people who are willing to cut their people off, or just treat them like nothing, or just not pass on much money to them, give them just a signing or whatever. There's no empathy there. So when I listen to the young man say, hey, I didn't get much money, I understood exactly what he was saying. Also, because your career is shorter. You're not finna do no 30 or 40 years like a regular worker. You're gonna do this brief moment in time, and then it's over. And young people never think it's going to be over, right? They don't think about losing athleticism. So it made sense to me. But it's not like that if we have collectivism, if we have reparations, because then you don't have a family who is always on your line. Well, you're the bank for everybody. If you don't want to be the bank, you gotta be the stars who, you know who they are. Y'all know the names of the people who cut off their family. Like, why should you want to have to do that? Why should you want to be that? But I understand it. Because now you're the bank for everybody, or you're an awful person, or the people you love hate you. And we're going to continue this cycle. Also, this cycle of people believing they need luxury everything and labels and all this foolishness. Y'all all run around wearing the same clothes. Y'all all run around wearing the same little necklaces. So I don't even know what you talking about. Ain't no individuality among you. But anyway, I done talked enough. I said I was gonna get y'all out of here earlier today. So I'm gonna let that be that. Please check out and donate to the link I pinned at the top of the page. But listen, fam, my whole point is just that we can't have ignorant or lazy assessments. You know, politics is just too big of a deal. And we have to be willing to take it seriously, because it's just not just impacting one person, it's impacting an entire community of people. And we have to be very much willing to deal with that and pushing people who are capable. Like, we're brilliant folks. It's not like something's intellectually wrong with us, but you have to believe that you have to make that analysis. The same way you can memorize everything everybody said. You can memorize, no, he was in that movie. You can memorize, no, I remember he ran a 410 or whatever. The same way you remember all that, you can remember, you can remember who Nancy Pelosi is. You can remember who all of the greats were. And I'm not talking about great in terms of did good things. I'm not a Pelosi fan. I'm talking about had power for this amount of time and held Democrats in line for this amount of time? And how did that happen? And why did that happen? And what do we have to change in terms of our leadership in Congress? Why do we have this managerial class of people instead of a people who can actually leverage power? Why do we have people who are just bought off by party? And then on the other side, people who are just on the side of their peers. Why is that happening? These are things that we have to interrogate. And next time, fam, I will get into the party part, or I might get into that on Patreon on Friday. We do Patreon on Friday at 2. But I will get into that at some point because we have to talk about that. Because we have, in a lot of our leaders, we have like this class of managers whose job is to manage us, right? And to serve as a middleman between us and white power. And that is a problem as well. But we'll talk about that next time, fam. I will see y'all. Yeah, we got to talk about Clyburn, but I didn't think, yeah, he's running again at 84, 85. So we have to talk about that. But I didn't think I left myself enough time to really talk about it today. But we're going to get to it. And we're going to get to all the problems that causes. And we're going to get to the fact that, like, I don't even, listen, I think you should always have an exit plan. I think, and at 84, 85, that's time to start thinking about it. But also, I don't think you've had enough successes to really run. Like, we're going to have to run down all of Clyburn's mistakes, everything that Clyburn has done, even in terms of South Carolina, in terms of changing that primary of South Carolina. That wasn't done to help ADOS or quote unquote black voters. That's the way it was sold. But that's not why it was done. That was done to help Biden. So we have to really talk about that in the kind of managerial, the managerial class that he's a part of. But we just won't get to it today. But we're gonna talk about it, fam. And I'll see y'all on Friday. Please keep it easy breezy. Please don't bother nobody, and please don't let nobody bother you. Don't do it. Don't let them do it to you either. Get you some nice. Remember winter. Get you some nice tea, and relax yourself a little bit. And we'll get back to it. A little quick show for you. Man, oh man, boy.